Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this week's edition of the NFL Week 6 post-game review. I am your host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. Let's hop right into it. First off, we had Thursday Night Football NFC East matchup as the Giants took on the Eagles, and the Eagles pretty much took down the shorts of the Giants, lowered their draws, and straight up sexually assaulted them because they got completely decimated. All right, the score was, 34-13. Giants could not do anything. Eli, it looks atrocious. Now, a lot of people talking about, well, the offensive line can't block for him. Let me point something out to you, all right? If we talk about terrible quarterback, or I should say quarterbacks with terrible offensive lines, Aaron Rodgers has been sacked, I believe, maybe one time less than Eli Manning. Matt Ryan, he's getting hit all over the place. Deshaun Watson, I'll touch on it a little bit later, but he's getting hit all over the place. But if you look at how their teams are doing, if you look how they're throwing the ball down the field, they look like they have a little bit of composure in the pocket. Eli, on the other hand, this man out there looking like Dan Orlovsky. He don't know what the hell he doing. He take the snap, it'll be 2 seconds. He's starting to feel pressure when the pressure don't exist. He's anticipating he might get hit. It's like he forgot how to play quarterback. It's ridiculous. All right, I told you guys about Eli Manning countless amount of times. People just having to live off the, well, he had the 2 Super Bowl rings, so you know he's still elite. No, don't fall for the genjutsu of Eli Manning. Playoff Eli don't exist. This elite don't, you can't spell elite without Eli. That don't exist. All right, this man is washed up. It's over. It's over. I'm not one to go out there and tell players, this early into the season, oh, it's a wrap. It's terrible. This man has not looked good at all in any game this season. It's time to move on. Maybe Ben McAdoo was on to something last year when he said, let's sit down Eli for the game and cut the consecutive game streak. Maybe he saw something that people didn't see. Maybe Ben McAdoo might just be a psychic Pokemon because he had future sight. All right, but the Eagles, great game. Still, you got to figure out a way to block for Carson Wentz because Jason Peters was getting absolutely decimated outside on the left tackle position. I mean, if you saw the 2 consecutive plays where Olivier Vernon went and bull rushed this man, and on the second, if you're a defensive end, if you saw the way he swam, technique textbook. Whoa, it looked masterful. All right. If I was a defensive end coach, I probably got an erection watching the way that man played the football game. But did it lead anywhere? No. Did it help the Giants come back and win? Absolutely not. The Eagles took care of business. They were able to throw the ball. Carson Wentz was able to get the ball down the field. Alshon Jeffrey got into the end zone 2 times. Running the football, they still got to work on that down the line and solidify themselves with an identity on the run game. But they're doing good for themselves. I believe they're going into a bye week. No, they're not, but whatever, I'll figure it out down the line when I do tomorrow's video. But, for the Eagles, great win for you guys. Next, Colts, Jets. I went to this game. The Jets won 42-34. I must say, atmosphere, Jets fans, very energetic. I enjoyed it. For the Colts, this was a game in which you guys screwed yourselves, all right? You screwed yourselves. You start out, pick 6. Guys can't catch the football. Andrew Luck's throwing the ball into extremely tight windows, which lead to interceptions. All right. Of the 3 interceptions that he threw, I believe all of them were thrown into tight windows. Well, no, the first one was just a blatant, a bad pass that ended up hitting off hands and it got intercepted. But the other 2 tight window interceptions. You can't throw those balls, man. Seriously, you can't throw those balls. The Colts fought their way back into the game. I believe at one point, 17-17 or 17-14? At one point somewhere in the second quarter, it was like that. But the Jets, they kept putting points on the board. This is why special teams is essential, because they went out there, kicked 7 field goals and made all 7. That's 3 touchdowns equivalent. That's 21 points on the board. 7 field goals, you making all of it. Had they missed maybe 1, 2 field goals, this is an entirely different game. But they're getting it done. The Colts side, it was the same thing. I mean, Vinatieri hit his field goals when he had to, but this was a game in which whoever doesn't make enough plays is going to lose, and that's what happened. The Colts went out there and lost. I'll say this about the Jets defense. They looked all right, but you've seen this problem with the Colts this entire season so far. There's guys who are open. There's guys with the opportunity to make plays, but the plays aren't being made. So the Colts have to figure out, how can we finish drives? Not finish games. How can we finish drives? Because you got to be able to score. And this is another issue. I'll touch on it with the Cleveland Browns later on. But good victory for the Jets. And I might add, the hospitality inside of MetLife Stadium was very good for a regular season game. I went there for the preseason game last year when the Giants lost to my Pittsburgh Steelers. But going there for a regular season game was all right. It was pretty cool. I saw a couple of Steelers fans out there as well. So for Steeler Nation, we are the best football fans in the NFL. well, arguably with the Oakland Raiders fans, but nonetheless, we travel very well. Next game, all right, Chargers, Browns. Wow, I didn't know the Browns was next on the lineup, but Chargers won the game 38-14 in the game in which the Chargers absolutely dominated. I'll say this for Cleveland, your defense is hard to play defense when you're on the field all the time. The Chargers were able to run the ball. Melvin Gordon had over, what was it, 135, 150? No, 155 was Latavius Murray. I think Melvin Gordon had 135 and 3 TDs. The hat trick, Dreadlock Powers in the end zone, paying real estate. Guys got to be able to get off the field. And if your defense can't get off the field, you're going to have a long day. And you guys are going to be tired. Might I add, Terrell Williams out there rubbing his nutsack all over the D-backs. Did you see that? It was shades of Megatron when he caught that touchdown in the end zone, ripped the ball out the person's hands. Personally, I thought it was an interception. But you know the rule in the NFL, offensive guy, defensive guy, both have the ball in the end zone. They're probably gonna give it to the offensive guy. But I would have probably went further towards the interception side. But nonetheless, this guy had 3 catches. All 3 catches were extremely meaningful. 2 of which that was on the drive in which he ended up scoring, and the next one he scored later on. Offense for the Chargers, well-oiled machine. Defense, some issues here and there, but they're getting it done. You guys need Bosa back to really solidify that front 4. But outside of that, great game. For the Browns, you can't win if you can't hold on to the ball. Baker Mayfield, again, interceptions. You can't keep turning the football over. You can't keep turning the football over. Might I add, they could not run the football at all. They were struggling. If you can't run the football and you constantly throwing, I think he threw the ball, 42 times maybe? Come on. It's not good football right there. You got to have a balanced attack. When they played against the Raiders, they had a balanced attack. Although they turned the football over, if they didn't turn the football over, they would have probably won. But discipline. But good game from the Chargers. Congratulations, 4-2. I'm happy they're off to a good start because the last half decade, maybe the better majority of this past decade, they've always started the first 6 games absolutely atrocious. But good win for them. Next, Texans, Bills, in a game in which the Bills should have won because the Texans struggled. All right, they couldn't block for Deshaun Watson. I think he got sacked about 7 times. They couldn't go out there and run the football. He threw for under 200 yards. He threw 2 interceptions. This game was offensively, it was bad for both teams. All right, because the Bills were constantly punting. The Texans were constantly punting. And then Josh Allen, my elbow, had his elbow hit out of the game. In comes Nate Peterman, and what does he do? He goes out there and gives them a lead. So you're looking like, all right, they might just mess around and win this game. Maybe the Bills' inconsistency that they've been having this entire year, where you play good against a good team, you play terrible against a bad team, you play good against a good team, and we came out here against the Texans, and you might walk away with the W, and then Nate Peterman, remembered he's Nate Peterman, after the game ended up getting tied because they kicked the field goal off, I believe, for Houston, and then what happened? Pick 6. Nate Peterman ain't shit. Then next drive, bam, another interception. What are you doing? Your arm is really just to aid the opposing team. It makes no sense. Remember when you used to play Madden back in the day, like when you were really young, or maybe for you guys who have no integrity, who happen to play Madden while you're older, and you're about to lose the game and you switch your controller to the opposing team so it can make it look like you're winning? I think that's what Nate Peterman does in the midst of the game when his team needs him. Like, you know what? Let me just start playing for the opposing team, because honestly, that playoff game against Jacksonville, the Bills could have won. In fact, they should have won. The terrible play of Blake Bortles, but we ain't gonna talk about that. But next, good victory for the Texans. This one here, I wouldn't feel too great about. You guys pretty much escaped, because if Josh Allen was playing, I have confidence the Bills would have probably won that game. But Nate Peterman gave him the lead and then took the lead right away. So it's really disappointing. If you're a Bills fan, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, you guys got to get some holes for Shady McCoy and whoever the hell's running the ball, because it's ridiculous. It makes no sense. They won the time of possession battle too. I think the Bills had the ball about like 31 minutes, 32 minutes, something like that. But come on, so you got to finish the game. Dolphins, Bears, in a surprising game in which the PhD graduate in embezzlement studies from Enron University, Brock Osweiler, came out there to relieve Ryan Tannehill, which I had no clue Tannehill was not playing. In fact, I don't think the Bears knew Tannehill wasn't playing either. But Osweiler came out there and he was slinging it. He played a very good game. Amendola got suplex, gut wrench suplex. Check 1-2. It's Jack Swagger on the field playing for the Bears. What the hell was that? I'm happy they flagged him, but it was hilarious to look out. But ironically, he's back with Olivia Copo. I don't really care about celebrity relationships, but I slid in her DMs after they broke up. Does that mean I have to take my DM message out? We ain't talking about that right now. We talking about football. But for the Bears, defensively, missed tackles, man. Missed tackles because Albert Wilson rubbed his nutsack along that secondary. Honestly, those 2 touchdowns that he had, missed tackles and guys who just could not cover him. I mean, this was a game that the Bears, it looked like it was going to be a layup because Miami, they came out. Did they come out fast? Yeah, they scored first. And then the Bears were here with them. I can't remember the rushing statistics, so I can't say the Bears couldn't run the ball, but it's not memorable right now. So I'm going to go on the limb and say offensively, they did not do that well. All right, because I remember looking at the game because when I got back home and I was reviewing all of the games and I was looking through the Bears game. I don't remember anything from the Bears offensively to really give a critical analysis on them. But the Dolphins, I remember extensively. But the Bears, I don't. It's like a blur. But I can say this about the Dolphins. Again, resilient. They came out here, they played resilient. Those 2 games that they lost, back to back, that's on their shoulders. All right, they did that to themselves. You can't play football like that. The Patriots game, terrible. The Bengals game, terrible. But this game, they stayed in it. Overtime, Kenyon Drake, you fumbled on the 1-yard line. Nobody even touched him. He just tried to dive over. And let me put some pizzazz on the ball and show Nick Saban inside where he used to coach. I can dive into end zone and you fumble on the play. What are you doing? What are you doing? But he made up for it because the Bears ended up missing their opportunity to win the game on their field goal. And then, bam, what happens? Down the field, he runs it, field goal range, bam, kick. Dolphins win. Good victory for them guys. Good victory for them guys. Bears, I just talked about that. Cardinals, Vikings, in a game in which the Vikings absolutely dominated. Now, the score says 27-17, but it was much further than what was presented on the scoreboard. All right, number 1, Adam Thielen. This man's legit. 6 straight 100-yard games, most in NFL history to start a season. I believe 7 is the record for most in a season consecutively. I think that's Michael Irvin. I may be wrong, but I think that's Michael Irvin. Nonetheless, offensively, they're doing well. Latavius Murray, 155 yards on the ground. Welcome to the Running the Ball Football Club, all right? Because everybody thought, well, Dalvin Cook's not healthy. Minnesota's going to be struggling the same way they did last year trying to run the ball. But what happened? He went out there, they played well, and when you run the football, you got time of possession on your side. And what happened? Minnesota had the ball 35 minutes. You keep Arizona's offense off the field, not like they were high-powered anyway. David Johnson, I don't even think he had a 100-yard game yet this season. But Vikings went out there, offense, well-oiled machine. Kirk family members able to diversify the ball around the field, so it's looking great. Defensively, they're doing all right, getting back to the form that we expected them to be. So great game for them. For the Cardinals, you're in a rebuilding phase, honestly. So it's going to take some time for things to start to click. Rosen, I can't give a whole critical analysis yet because the offensive line's not that great. His receiving core is not that great. The Cardinals are just a bad team, so I can't speak down on him because he's doing the best he can. He's doing the best he can. But tough loss, great victory for the Vikings. Falcons, Bucks in a game in which was back and forth, and the Bucks, doesn't really show on the scoreboard it was back and forth, but it felt like it was a back and forth game. The Bucks honestly could have won this game on that last possession had Mike Evans not spiked the ball while he was trying to pass it to Deshaun Jackson. He threw it more downward than upward. If he floated it a little bit, then the Bucks probably would have ended up winning the game and the Falcons would have had another blown the lead joke. But for the Falcons, they played an all right game offensively, defensively. For the Bucks, it was there here and there too. They started a little bit slow. A bunch of tight ends scored on this game, exposed the middle portions of the field. A lot of red zone action for both teams, but defensively for both teams, you got to be able to stop somebody, and that's what cost the Bucks the game. You got to be able to stop somebody. I mean, there were pressure here and there, but if you can't stop nobody, how you gonna win the game? Can't win like that. A lot of people are talking on the Bucs side, hey, maybe they should have started Fitzpatrick instead of Winston. I don't see where this conversation is coming in. I mean, Winston drove you down the field and gave you an opportunity to possibly win the game on a last-second play, in which the last-second play would have probably worked out because he made the right read when he threw the ball towards his left. So it wasn't really on his shoulders, but I guess it's all right analysis to make. But the Bucs is still a talented offense. Defensively, they got to get themselves back to the days of the Saps and the Lynches and the Barbers and the Simeon Rice's and the I'm forgetting the pinnacle point of the linebacker position, Derek Brooks. All right, and those guys, they got to get an identity defensively, because all I can think of when I think of the Bucs defense, I'm thinking Gerald McCoy, I'm thinking Quan Alexander, I'm thinking Brett Grimes, and that's pretty much it. And those guys aren't even at the pinnacle outside of Gerald McCoy, of course, but those guys aren't at the best of their positions anymore. Quan Alexander maybe, but he's got some ways to go before I say, yo, he's elite, because he's a top tier, or not top tier, he's like probably a second tier linebacker play. When I see him play, he has a whole lot of potential, but he just got to step it up a little bit. Brent Grimes on the decline of his career, but nonetheless, great win for the Falcons. Seahawks Raiders, the Raiders got absolutely destroyed overseas. Seahawks pretty much, you know, they turned into some vultures and ate on the flesh of the dead Raiders, because it was necrophilia out there. The Raiders were already dead and somehow still getting fucked. A lot of people are talking about John Gruden got to get fired, all this other stuff. I'll say this. He signed a 10-year contract, $100 million. I'm not going to start to, you know, look at it like, yo, he needs to go until about year 3. He traded Khalil Mack. He got 2 first-round picks. We'll see what those picks turn into. This season for the Raiders is pretty much done, because I see no upside for them. Their defense is atrocious. They can't catch a pick if they wanted to. Just like last year, how it took them 11 or 12 weeks to catch their first interception. This year in particular, they're not covering guys. They can't stay with people. So it's going to be a very long season. But I'll say this, their offensive line cannot block the way that they did 2 years ago for Jack Del Rio. I'll say that. It's very odd, because when Derek Carr was an MVP candidate, he had one of the better offensive lines in the league. This offensive line, I don't think they lost anybody, but their performance level is much lower. I don't understand that. Now, granted, Seattle, they don't have those, you know, Legion of Boom defense that they had. They still got some names over there who can rush the quarterback, but guys are just getting beat one-on-one. It makes no sense to me. If you're a fan of the black hole, I don't know what to tell you. Guys are just underperforming out there. They got to play better football. But for the Seahawks, you know, great game for them. Good win, much needed win. So good for them. Good game. They just decimated the Raiders. Jags and the Cowboys in an absolute decimation of the Jags. And I told you the Cowboys were going to win the game. I didn't expect it to be this much, but I knew the Cowboys were going to go out there and win the game, because the Jags are who we thought they were. And they're the exact same team that went 3-13 a couple of years ago. Guys got to understand, last year was a miracle run. It was not going to be replicated this year, because Blake Bortles had everybody caught in a genjutsu. He had everybody caught in some sort of sleep paralysis jutsu. People thought that he was going to come out here and he's an elite quarterback because he went to the AFC Championship on the basis of him running the football. It wasn't him passing the football. He ran for those first downs. Against Buffalo, the reason why they won the game, because he was able to extend the third down because he used his legs. Now, that's not something that's drawn up. It happened because coverage was magnificent. People weren't open. However, the rushing of the passer was opened up just enough space inside the gaps for him to squeeze through and get a first down. The same thing against Pittsburgh. Now you're seeing it this year. This man can't throw. He can't read defenses. He can't get the ball to people. He turns the football over. He's the exact same person we said he was going to be. On top of that, injuries is killing them because he can't run the football. They need Leonard Fournette. And because they don't have Leonard Fournette, they're on the field. Bortles is probably throwing the ball 2 out of 3 plays, or maybe even all 3 plays. Incompletion, you give the ball right back to an opposing team that can run the ball with the Dallas Cowboys having Zeke in the backfield, and you're not going to win the game. And I'll say this about their defense. A lot of people saying, well, if you're not on the field or the defense is on the field all the time, they're going to get tired, and that's what's giving up points. No, Jacksonville's defense is they're underperforming this year. Their only good game defensively, honestly, against a good team was against the Patriots. Don't tell me about the Tennessee game, because both those teams offensively, it's not really there. But that was their one game. They went out there and, you know, they played great, and then now you're looking at them, they're underperforming. But for the Cowboys, Dak used his legs. He had, I think, 90 or 80 some yards on the ground. Phenomenal game by the Cowboys. All right, they went out there, they won the game. I'm pretty sure all the Cowboys fans, we the boys, we going to the Super Bowl. We beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Listen, slow your roll. Great win, but slow your roll. But good victory for the Cowboys. The Rams and the Broncos in a game where the Broncos lost. 23-20. I thought the Broncos were able to, go out there and pull up the upset, and it looked like they had the opportunity to, but Todd Gurley was running up and down the field on them, 200 plus yards. Come on. Multi-touchdown game, I might add once again. This guy's an end zone magnet, but the Broncos fought their way back. They just ran out of time. Case Keenum, people are talking about, hey, maybe we might want to bench him. I would not do that just yet. Give him some time, but he needs a run game. Because the Broncos have receivers that's there. If you can open up your entire playbook, now you start to look dangerous. Because if you could run that play action fake, and when I say run it, because every team runs it, but it's not believable if you're on a team where you can't run the football. Like if what's a terrible team that can't run the football? What's a team that can't run the football, can't run the play action fake? I want to say Green Bay, but they pull it off very well because Aaron Rodgers can probably scamper himself, nonetheless. But I'll get back to the point. You understand what I'm saying. If you can't run the football effectively, nobody's going to fall for that play action fake. And that's the issue that the Broncos are having right now. Back when Peyton was on his last legs that final season and Osweiler came in and relieved him, they were still believable because you had the C.J. Anderson, you had the Ronnie Hillmans. Those guys, they're able to run the football so you can run that play action fake. But what you're seeing out there in Denver right now, they can't run the football. They're struggling. But I'll say this about the Rams defense. Still, again, this wasn't one of those phenomenal defensive performances. I didn't see there were many holes that were there. They got to get that stuff corrected if they want to stay undefeated. But it was a good victory for the Rams. The Redskins and the Panthers. Panthers lost 23-17. Great game by the Redskins. Why? Because they were able to run the football. I believe they had 170 to 200 some yards on the ground. It was a hell of a game. But why did the Redskins win? Time of possession. They had the ball, I think, 35 minutes. Keep Cam Newton on the sideline. How you going to win the game? You're not. Adrian Peterson had almost 100 yards. I think he had like 97 or something like that. Alex Check Down Smith did just enough to keep the ball inside of their hands. He managed the game. The Panthers defensively, or I should say offensively, because I'll touch on their defense a little bit later, but offensively, DJ Moore, you fumbled twice. Cam, you got hit, you threw an interception. Josh Norman picked them off. Stuff like this, mistakes that cost you the game, but you guys were still in a position to win down the stretch, but ball sailed incomplete. You lost the game. But great game by the Redskins. Again, this Redskins team can be something serious if they can run the ball. If they can run the ball, you got to take them seriously. The game against New Orleans, it could have been a big-time game if they were able to run the ball, but they couldn't. So that's why they got blown out the way that they got blown out. But of course, you're playing in the Superdome. Drew Brees has an opportunity to break a record, so of course they're going to come out here high-powered. I ain't really expecting them to win that game anyway. But the Redskins ran the ball effectively. Very good game. For Carolina, take care of the football. DJ Moore, stop eating Butterfingers before the games. Get your head out your ass. Next. Titans, Ravens, in a game where the Titans got raped. Join the Me Too movement, Marcus Mariota, because you were out there getting harassed. All right, I'll say this. Ravens defense, they did the exact same thing they've been doing all season. No points in the second half. Those guys are shutting people down. Offensively, for Marcus Mariota, he has not had time all season. If you want to be a Titans fan right now, you better go out there and slap whatever offensive lineman you can find out there in Tennessee. If they drink in Tennessee whiskey, tell them to go join a sobriety class because it's making no sense. Guys got to be able to block. On the ground, Derrick Henry, Dion Lewis, I've been saying this all season, especially by Henry. You got to be able to run the football. You're too goddamn big. You got to be able to run the football. I had high hopes for you. You're letting me down. I no longer have these high hopes for you at all, Derrick Henry. I don't. Because I thought you were going to come out here and look like a beast, and that is not the case. For the Ravens offensively, they were here and there, but they didn't really have to do much because they had the ball after about 3 plays. Tennessee kept going 3 and out, and you just kept getting the ball back. Let's just run the ball, run the clock out, and that was pretty much it. So I can't really give a whole analysis by it, but the defense just went out there and they killed them. Sunday Night Football. Chiefs, Patriots, phenomenal game. Game of the week in my opinion. Offensively, both teams were on fire. If Patrick Mahomes does not throw those 2 interceptions, I believe the Chiefs probably go out there and win. Tyreek Hill dominated this game, 3 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes looked like a stud once he got his composure. For the Patriots, offensively, they go out there, they do what they do. Tom Brady's Tom Brady, throwing the ball to different people. All right, but defensively, again, the Patriots defense, it looks very similar to the beginning of last year. So I think they're going to get it together because Belichick's always able to do that. However, this is one of the worst defenses out there. They cannot cover people for some apparent reason. So they're giving up a lot of points. It's going to fall on the arm of Tom Brady once again. And still, that's still a threat. Don't get me wrong. That is still a threat. But they got to get that defense down. Belichick can get it together. Chiefs defense, you already know. They give up a ton of yards. They usually stop people in the end zone on 3rd down. But, Brady went out there and Brady was Brady. So, good victory for them. 49ers Packers in a game which the 49ers should have closed. Let me take a look to see how much time I have left. 4 minutes. All right, so in a game where the Packers, they had to come back and win the game because C.J. Beathard went out there and played a very good game. Marquise Goodwin, he played a very good game, receiving the ball, got into the end zone twice. On the ground, Breida had a couple of first downs here and there, but the 49ers simply could not finish the damn game. All you had to do was take care of the ball, C.J. And Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers. All right, once I saw the interception happen, I was like, oh, this game's over. And Rodgers went out there and he finished the doggone game and killed those 49ers. I mean, if you looked at it, first off, I've never seen so much cover 0 throughout the entire football league. It's very odd. All right, there was a lot of times where there was no goddamn high safety. I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me. But Aaron Rodgers methodically went down the field, tied up the game, got the football back, went down the field with some hellacious sideline throws. Masterful sideline throws, east to the west, and then Mason Crosby comes out here, makes up for his past woes of the past game, and goes out there, kicks 4 field goals, and the game winner. Great game by the Packers. Great game. And finally, Pittsburgh Steelers game taking on the Bengals. And what did I tell you? The Bengals are going to find a way to Cincinnati themselves out of a W. They played an all right game. This game was back and forth. Pittsburgh should have scored. I think Mike Tomlin should have thrown the challenge flag for the, was it the James Conner touchdown? Yeah, the James Conner touchdown that ended up not being a touchdown, but he didn't throw it. And they ended up settling for a field goal, took the 20-14 lead. Cincinnati went down the field, scored the go-ahead touchdown with Mixon. They thought they were going to win, and then what happens? Big Ben does what Big Ben does, goes down the field, Antonio Brown touchdown. A lot of people saying, well, it was a pick play, a legal block, and all that other stuff. Tell you the truth, I kind of agree. I have a little bit of cognitive dissonance here, and it's not because I'm biased, because I'm a fan, because of how Hunter came off the line and went directly there with arm extended. I would have probably threw the flag. However, maybe that's just how he releases it. That's not really a good counter argument of how he releases off the ball and to say, oh, maybe that's not why the flag should have been thrown. But if he's running one of those routes, the refs would have to, respect the fact that he could be running one of those routes. But it's a bang bang sort of situation, because if it's about 2 seconds after you just saw, oh, he actually blocked him, you can't throw the flag at that point, especially if you're a ref. You gotta get it out there on time. So it's a missed call by the refs. In my opinion, I would have probably threw the flag, but Cincinnati put themselves in a situation where Steelers were going to be moving down the field anyway. They weren't too far from field goal range either, I might add. So who knows how things would have played out. They had 2 timeouts left as well, but I believe Pittsburgh would have won that game regardless. But that was all of the games, I believe. Yeah, I think I'm about 1 minute left remaining. But nonetheless, this has been your Week 6 post-game analysis show. I am your host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. And before I leave, let me just give you a rundown of every team that won. You had the Eagles, the Jets, the Chargers, the Texans, the Dolphins, Vikings, Falcons, Seahawks, Redskins, Rams, Cowboys, Ravens, Patriots, Packers, and the Steelers. Take out your Metro cards and get aboard the W train. Now I'm finished.